Donald Trump has ordered, as of the close of business today in Washington, D.C., for all departments of diversity, equity, and inclusion to cease operations. Renegade Online. Woo. We've been talking about this for a few years, and it really does now look like that diversity, equity, and inclusion is on the ropes. I mean, genuinely on the ropes. I am not going to sit here and prognosticate that it will be defeated tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to go away forever. It's not. But we have the advantage right now. Donald Trump has ordered, as of the close of business today in Washington, D.C., for all departments of diversity, equity, and inclusion to cease operations. Mark Mitchell is joining us tonight from Rasmussen. Welcome back, Mark. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's been a crazy couple of days and a really relaxing winter for me, because I'll tell you what, after November, I kicked my feet up and took a little bit of a break, went down to AmFest, enjoyed my holiday. And now it's like every minute the world is changing. I can't pull myself off of Twitter. It's really incredible.
It feels like that. Like every time I turn around, especially since like Sunday and Monday, Twitter has been aflame. I mean, Twitter has been just absolutely lit up. The passion, the excitement has been palpable. Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Logic, is joining us as well.
How are you?
How are you, dude?
Good to see you. I am, thank God. Like the rest of the world, I'm in a celebratory mood this week. This is not, when I say the rest of the world, I don't mean just America. I mean folks around the world, on the entire Western world at least, are celebrating the inauguration of the greatest president of our lifetimes. This is a phenomenal week, and it's nice to see him kick it into high gear right out of the gate with the executive orders, with the work on the border, with declaring a state of emergency on the border, with obviously freeing the J6 prisoners who were held hostage even after he pardoned them for far longer than they should have been held hostage under some guise of there being an issue with paperwork. This was Liberation Day we had on Tuesday. I assume all free-thinking adults who are able to critically analyze are celebrating this week, right? That's the way it should be, you would think.
I think that's where the lines are drawn, basically, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. I mean, it's if you're actually able to critically assess things and look at situations without being tainted by crazy TDS that's been inspired by legacy media, you're going to be really happy and recognize that this is, what they're calling is the incoming, felon / tyrant wannabe is actually the end of hypocrisy and two-tiered systems of justice and ridiculous weaponization of all of our triple-letter agencies, where you're talking about the IRS, the DOJ, the CDC, all of them being weaponized for purposes of pursuing a personal financial agenda of the political elites as well as their wealthy friends. And that this is a day that the American people, and most directly, are the ones who are beneficiaries of there being actual freedom and accountability, and what's the real return to normalcy, as opposed to what Biden championed himself as the return to normalcy. This is the actual return to normalcy.
Voters are finally getting what they voted for the very first time in decades. And I know it seems insane, this little thing called integrity and leadership. It's nice to have it restored in a way that literally, I mean, this is a curtain has been unveiled. Like the emperor has no clothes. The establishment in DC does not do at all what it was elected to do. And Donald Trump just is embarrassing them second by second. I can't keep up with it. Like we're talking about the DEI stuff, but how about the stuff buried? They've been thinking about this a long time. Buried in the bottom of that DEI, that anti-affirmative action executive order, was a mandate for each of the departments to come up with a list of 9 corporate targets to file complaints against. Like setting criteria above which certain, I mean, corporate boardrooms must be sweating right now because it looks like the Trump administration is going to come after them for illegal discrimination in hiring practices.
But White House Office of Personnel Management orders all DEI offices to begin closing by end of day today. Washington, the Federal Office of Personnel Management notified heads of agencies and departments that they must begin taking steps to close all diversity, equity, and inclusion offices by the end of the day Wednesday and place government workers in those offices on paid leave, or otherwise known as administrative leave. Acting Director of OPM, Charles Ezell, sent a memo to heads and acting heads of departments and agencies Tuesday evening, so 24 hours ago, directing them that no later by 5 p.m. Wednesday Eastern, the offices have to send a notification to all employees of DEI and accessibility offices that they're being placed on paid administrative leave effective immediately. What I want to point to here is something, Kershaw has been warning about. Hey, look, everybody out there in the social media sphere, DEI is not really going away. They are trying to rebrand it. And we've made the comparisons in the past, just like where global warming was a thing, and then they rebrand it as climate change once the marketing campaign for global warming basically failed. This is a little bit different because Trump is pushing it. Listen to the next two bullet points very carefully. Trump has also ordered by executive action, take down all outward-facing media, websites, social media accounts, etc., of DEIA offices, meaning shut them all off. We're not going to play the pretend game here with we're shifting the focus. No, close them. Then withdraw any final or pending documents, directives, orders, materials, equity plans issued by the agency in response to the now repealed Executive Order 14035 DEIA in the federal workforce, June 25, 2021. That was a Joe Biden executive order, which, of course, we know now, Mark, right, that Joe Biden, thanks to our buddy down here in Louisiana, Mike Johnson, who came out and did an interview in the last few days where he said Joe Biden had no idea what he was signing on these executive orders. We made jokes Monday night. Like, Joe Biden was one of the most OG, old school, racist white Democrats in Congress imaginable. And to think, like, people out there actually believe that Joe Biden, like, suddenly had a change of heart and he was gleefully signing off on all this stuff. That man was put into that office of the White House because he was literally a demented, as in he had dementia, stooge, to be told what to do. And finally, cancel any DEI-related training and terminate, and this is key, terminate any DEI-related contractors. Let me tell y'all out there in the audience what that means, and then I want to get the panel's reaction to this. We have talked about in the entertainment industry, and especially in the gaming industry, I want you to think Ubisoft. I want you to think Sweet Baby Inc. I want you to think about, all these other AAA gaming studios dropping $300-400 million into games. Think about Sony, who had reportedly over $500 million sunk into Concord, which was a DEI wet dream that literally failed after 2 weeks. Sony shut the game down after 2 weeks after release. Over $500 million investment over the course of nearly a decade. Those things were all put into place by big Fortune 500 companies, basically swindled into hiring these DEI contractors because, hey, this is where the culture's going. You have to hire these people and you have to hire that in. Hey, we just let George Soros fast track 250 radio stations being purchased by his folks. What was it, like 4 months before the election? All this left-wing propaganda and everything else, it all failed. It all failed. And Donald Trump is telling the government, we're talking about potentially billions of dollars right there of private third-party contracts from the government. Think about all the different government offices. Think about all the different government agencies, the branches of government that were compelled in the last 4 to 5 years or potentially even longer to go ahead and bring in diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're summarily canceled. It's done. as of right now, as we're doing this show, as of 2 hours ago, as of 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, all this stuff is verboten. It is done. It's over. Guys, what do y'all think on this one?
This is not done playing out yet, and there's a couple of different aspects to this. Hollywood, I think major corporations and the government are in 3 different situations. The only company I've ever seen unwokeify itself is Twitter, and they did that by getting new leadership that came in and rooted out the woke ideology root and stem. Just ripped it out, fired 80% of the people. It wasn't just the DEI component. It was all the activists that were there that didn't want to work, that were more interested in sipping frappes and being that's what it took. Now what we're seeing is whether Donald Trump can do that to the federal government and to what extent. And of course, they're going to go underground. It's interesting seeing all the tweets right now of people who are changing their job titles. I just saw one from the ATF to try and run and hide and pretend that they weren't, doubling down on DEI this entire time. And then there's the companies. Now, you look at Hollywood, and I think Hollywood's a special case because they were so ideological that the DEI woke, extreme, insane political agenda became the party line that everybody had to toe. The truth is that at these large companies, it's not that bad. You don't have to absolutely put pronouns in your bio. It's just one of those things where, if you do, you probably have a non-zero chance of succeeding more. And the problem is you have all of these people, and this has been coming for a long time. You had Bernanke bucks that plowed into all these companies and allowed them to build products that were unprofitable. You allowed them to not compete, basically virtue signal in order to get ahead, to get all those great articles, those coverage in Fortune and all these other magazines. And it's like when that path dies, when all of a sudden the economy gets bad again, when there's not endless ESG money, you have to make good products. And ultimately what we're left with is companies that can't make good products and a bunch of moral weather vanes at the top. And we don't know if that's going to change, but I saw a tweet by Chris Rufo texting with Wall Street executives who are telling me everyone is feeling good that DEI is coming to a close. Even if they won't do so publicly, firms are reviewing DEI and ESG policies, ready to draw them down because things went way too far. Now, if that's true, if that's top Wall Street executives, that might be a massive shift, but ultimately you still have a bunch of people who are making non-financial decisions when they have a fiduciary duty to shareholders. And so I wonder to what extent woke is really dead.
Well, I think, look, I think there's a difference, Mark. I think you're absolutely correct on this one. I think there's a difference between saying woke is dead versus DEI is on the ropes. Woke to me, and I know that is a term that has been, I think, fairly assessed as being overused, that kind of blanket statements everything. I've always thought of that term as being more social, cultural, than anything. DEI, when I think DEI, that acronym, those letters come to mind as something that is more corporately embedded. That is something that has been a cancer, a real problem of the corporate world. There's a very different spectrum when it comes to removing DEI from a corporate standpoint, and we're talking about, as you correctly pointed out, the financial aspects, the fiscal aspects, the economic aspects of DEI in the corporate world versus woke as a cultural social movement in society.
Yeah.
But I think that there is, and has been now for many years, an element in corporate America, including Hollywood, where people have correctly recognized that this is stupid. What are we doing? But I mean, Matthew, let me ask you, what do you think about all that? I mean, you've been in the Hollywood side of things, so from that gauge, I mean, where do you think this is going to go from here? I mean, you've got the corporate side of DEI, and you got the cultural side of woke, quote unquote. I mean, what sense do you have? Because you've been there, man.
Yeah, well, I can tell you something that personally happened to me before I moved to Texas. I'm not entirely sure if I told you this story before, so forgive me if I did, but I had a neighbor of mine who I didn't know what their political persuasion was, and you don't really talk about it, right? You don't really talk about it in
Yeah.
California, certainly in LA. And this person came up to me and she said, I need to talk to you. I need to talk, because she knew that I was in the industry and she was at one of the big companies.
Mhm.
And she goes, I just got told I had to hire a black UPM, right? A black unit production manager. Now, here's the
Okay.
thing. Whether people want to recognize it or not, like Jordan Peterson has proved that women, for example, will naturally gravitate towards certain industries, right? The caring industry, we know this, nursing, social work, teachers. It's just a natural thing. And even in Europe, where they've said, hey, listen, you can do whatever you want for years and years and years, they've still gone back to those core jobs because it's, guys like doing a certain kind of job for the most part, and women like doing a different kind of job. The reason why I say that is there are very, very few black UPMs. Very, very few. Now, you could say, well, maybe it's not traditionally a job that, African-American people got into, right?
What's a UPM, by the way?
Unit production manager.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's
On
unit
a
production
movie
manager.
on a movie set, Joe.
Yeah, okay. No, I just...
Yeah.
Yeah, a unit production manager.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, they told me I've got to get one. And there's only really one really good one that we know of. And he's getting all the offers, right? He's getting offers from Netflix and all these offers. So, of course, the guy's like making bank, right? Good on him. He's in that position. That's great. But she said, and I can't find one. The one guy because it's like anything. If someone wants to hire me for a job, I've got to have past experience that I can nail that job. You don't have someone on camera that doesn't know what they're doing. And the same thing in such a crucial job like a UPM. But she was told that she had to hire a black UPM. She said, so do you know what they're telling me to do? They're telling me to promote the accountant.
He's right. He's totally. I mean, that's been the problem. Like this is what has killed a lot of Hollywood studios.
Yeah,
this is what killed Pixar, Disney Animation, Marvel, everybody else. It was like we can't. Okay, we're going to promote people to positions of higher power that they basically they really have no skill to do.
And this is the crux of it, right?
Yeah.
So she knows this woman cannot do the job, right? She can't. It's not her fault. If you're going to get offered $10,000-$15,000 raise for a year or however much it is, you're going to take the job, right?
Yeah.
So she's going to take the job, and then she's going to fail, and then guess what's going to happen? She's going to get fired. And so it doesn't help that person because there's no structure to allow them to organically learn the job. Now, if you want to go and find a black sound person, there's a lot of them. Right, it's just these. There's certain. It's like, why'd you have a bunch of gay wardrobe guys? Because gay guys go into wardrobe or makeup. It's
True.
It's just the way it is. She said to me, "It's going to put my production over budget." Right, so it's going to put my production over budget. And let me tell you, it goes over budget, guys. It's not just like spending. It's I didn't make the day. Right, I had to push the day. So then I've had to add another day onto my schedule. Then what does that do? That knocks everything like boom. You've got a location. Maybe you can't lose that location, so you got to do a unit move. So you move the entire movie somewhere. Then you got to move the entire movie back again just to finish that day. So this is part of you speaking earlier on to Captain America, the Falcon, which was just a disastrous idea anyway, and horrible for Anthony Mackie. All right, again, if you're going to say to Anthony Mackie, hey, listen, we're going to make you Captain America, the Falcon, we're going to pay you $1 gajillion, what's he going to say? No. I mean, he's a terrific actor.
He is.
He's going to do it.
He's a fellow New Orleans boy from down here where I'm from, man. We all love Anthony Mackie down here. We love Falcon. Falcon was so big when he came on the scene, Matthew, that we made him the Grand Marshal of one of the largest 2 Mardi Gras parades that year, Bacchus. I mean, like Anthony Mackie was legend down here, and he still is. And it's like, but we loved him. We loved him as Falcon.
But he's gonna be a part of one of the biggest flops of all time, and that's again it's not fair on him. I mean, Michael Caine said to me when I did a movie with him in 99, and he said, Matt, nobody sets out to make a bad movie. Right? Nobody sets out to make a bad movie. So what do? You start with the writing. Again, same thing. Do you have to have DEI writers? That, by the way, this is the other conversation I had with that woman, and I'll shut up. She goes, and here's the other thing. There are 2 writers that I've wanted to work with for 20 years. 20 years I've wanted to work with these writers. And guess what? Guess what? I can't work with them. And do you know why I can't work with them? The same reason why they're free. Because they are white males.
Yep.
And
I remember you telling me that story.
I told you so. You know, that's why it's so important. Because now, guess what? If your movies are failing and you're failing to the tune of $500 million, there's a lot of people under that umbrella that go to work that aren't going to have any work anymore. So everyone ends up failing. Everyone ends up losing work. And it's a giant problem. And I think that one of the things that we need to do, or they need to do, because I'm not in Hollywood anymore, really, is go back to, of course, merit. There are thousands of great scripts out there that haven't been made. And they need to go back to making those mid-tier budget movies. There's those $20 million movies. I mean, when I did Anacondas, it was $25 million. And I was like, I don't want to do a $25 million movie. It's so low. Now, you'd have your arm off to do a $25 million movie, which is, of course, 20 odd years later, it's not the same amount of money. Right. But they're not making them. And Godzilla -1 showed everyone, look, this is what you can do with really smart people. And I'm telling you, there weren't a lot of diversity on that film at all.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.